the way that I say it, I think sometimes, gets people's back up instantaneously, and I don't think the haircut helps.
I love the haircut.
Well, listen, it's my favorite attribute. I joke with everybody because a lot of the people are like, "What do are you a boy or a girl?" I'm like, "You can call me anything you want, just
Yeah.
as long as you compliment my hair."
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Tell me why, oh why it feels so right. It feels so right to be alone. Whether day or night, rain or shine, it feels so right to be alone.
All right, welcome back to Arlene Is Alone. This time I am alone with Joanne, and I'm going to tell you that unless you have been living under a rock, like literally under a rock, if you're at all on TikTok, even on Instagram or anywhere, you have seen Joanne on her channel, which is called Unlearn 16. And Joanne has taught me more about Canadian history than any history book has ever taught me, and taught me more about politics than any political like analyst has ever taught me. And I am enamored with you, Joanne. Like
Oh my gosh, stop it.
No, it's true. Like
Cut it out.
you have this unique ability to take complex issues and distill them down into simple truths and digestible, nuggets of information that anybody can go, oh, okay, I get it now, without making people feel stupid. I love that about you.
That's the biggest compliment anybody could ever give me. It's because I've been teaching 15-year-olds. You either get good at it, and I mean good at it as in making it entertainment, as in making it interesting, informative, all of those things. And if you talk down to a 15-year-old, they will smell that out. They will want you gone. They will give you a hard time. They're a true test of who you are. Are you being authentic? What is your character? And now go ahead and try to teach me something. We'll see if you can get that done. So it's been 23 years, trial by fire.
I think it's the willingness to have a civil discourse is everything.
That's all I want.
Would you get your picture taken with Trump?
A picture? For would we do this? I'm not too sure. I would sit down with them.
Yeah.
Only if cameras are rolling and it was uncut.
And it was uncut.
Yes. I am not playing. I'm not going to dinner like Bill Maher. I'm not going to give you my report card and say he's a really good guy. No. Let's sit down. Because in the back of my head, I'd be thinking, how many of his 77 million voters are going to switch to my side after this interview?
Yeah.
Can I make... Is that like arrogant of me? Yeah, probably. But that's what I want. Because I don't think 77 million people want what's going on right now.
Politics. I don't want to spend too much time talking about politics.
Me neither. Who wants to do that?
But I kind of want to talk about it because the relationship we have with politics leads into the relationship we have with each other. Because
Absolutely.
There's so much, to your point, there are so many people out there who are either far left or far right or in the middle or somewhere in between, who don't know how to have a conversation, and they want their relationship to be with what they call their truth, but then they can't have their truth as a conversation with anyone else's if their truth doesn't align. What do you think it is about politics that gets us so entrenched?
I don't know if it's just politics. I think it's us. I think the average person wants their lives to meet what they have in their head, and they want a politician to get in their head and tell them exactly what they're thinking is going to come true, and that is right. We want confirmation bias everywhere we look. It makes us feel good. And I don't just mean feel good like superior. I mean, it makes us feel safe, and it makes us think our families are safe, and it makes us think we have control in a world that is full of chaos. Like I hate change. I often say that monotony is the spice of life. I like the same thing for breakfast. I don't want to change the furniture in my house. I like it. And I understand that what that's doing, it's giving me the illusion of control and calm in a world that the drop of a dime can change. And I think we look to our politicians to reaffirm that confirmation bias, to reaffirm that everything's going to be okay, because it's a really hard thing to tell the truth and then to get people on your side.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting way to think about it. I mean, you have a relationship with politics, and that you're always trying to help people see the implications of political promises or political views, But what is your relationship with your 3.5 million viewers on TikTok? Like, what do you think the relationship is? What do people want from you, and what do you give them?
I hope authenticity. And it sounds so ridiculous, and some people will be like, "Oh, well, you're always standing in a certain way." Yeah, because I have a crooked nose, so I like to stand a certain way. I'm not saying I'm not vain, but people are really starved for authentic, interesting, intelligent, respectful conversation
Mhm.
that has about a 30% funny.
Mhm.
They wanna laugh. They wanna understand that it's serious, but it can't always be serious. That we're gonna talk about real issues, but I'm gonna wink at you in the end, because if we're not sort of dealing with all of these big problems in that way, that it's just too heavy, it's too much.
Yeah.
The way that I say it, I think sometimes, gets people's back up instantaneously, and I don't think the haircut helps.
I love the hair.
Well, listen, it's my favorite attribute. I joke with everybody because a lot of the people are like, "What do are you a boy or a girl?" I'm like, "You can call me anything you want, just
Yeah.
as long as you compliment my hair.
Yeah.
That's all I care about."
How
Uh,
long have you had this?
Of the
How
haircuts every 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe about 5 years,
5 years?
on and off. Like
You
I've
ever
had
had it
short
long?
hair for a while. Yeah, I listen. You guys want to see pictures? I
Yeah.
should have brought a picture. I pretty much used to look like Felicity. Remember
Felicity.
Felicity?
Yeah.
Carrie Russell, when she was on a show
Oh,
back
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
90s.
yeah.
So I had a perm, because it's the 90s. Don't
Don't
judge me.
judge. And then what made you say, "I'm gonna cut it all off"?
The gayness.
Yeah?
I don't know if I've never told this story, like
Oh,
on
we
social
love
media.
that. We love that. We
Here
love
we
hearing
go.
these stories.
So I'm dating a guy, go on this trip. Make all of these friends. It's fantastic. You share rooms with people on these trips, right? And at some point, I'm sharing this room with this woman who was my age, who I think at the time also had a boyfriend, as did everybody, or whatever, whatever. But there was a moment. So we were sharing a room, and there was a moment that I didn't want to go out, and she said she'd stay. Why don't we watch a movie? Nothing happens. Dial it down.
Yeah.
This is a PG show. But I'll tell you what did happen.
Drawing a picture.
I thought I was going to throw up. Like it was like I had because it never crossed my mind. But in that moment, I think there was a little bit of a conscious awareness that I started developing, and I had to get the hell out of that room. I went and did anything just to be outside of that room. And funnily enough, she is now married to a woman with kids, and she wasn't gay then either. So it was obviously something that was subconscious, or I hadn't thought. We've never even really talked about it since.
And
I
that
had
was
to
and
leave.
that was that the moment when you went,
Nope. This is how slow. It's a slow burn.
Okay.
It really is.
Okay.
You know what? This is it. My mom would actually have this revelation when I was little. I'd never asked to play with anybody. I'd always be like, I'd stand off to the side when I was like 5 and wait to be invited. Wait, why don't you come play?
Mhm.
Right? I feel like I was waiting for an invite.
You probably
You don't
could
get
somebody
one.
you don't
You
get one?
don't. No,
They
you don't. I
no?
didn't. No, you don't get one. There's no memo. People joke about steak knives. Never got a set. Nothing.
Fast forward, so you eventually determine that, you want to I don't know, do you determine?
And eventually, there's a seating arrangement. Yeah, no. Eventually,
There's a plaque.
like-
You go to the table and there's a little
yeah,
place card that says, yeah, if you got a red dot under your chair, you've got
the white smoke goes
Yeah, there's
up
white smoke.
outside of the.
so the white smoke came up. There was a
Sure.
red dot under your chair, and you won the centerpiece,
And I'm
and
in.
then you got the steak knives.
Knives. Yeah, I'm good to go.
And your first relationship.
Yeah, it was disaster.
Why?
She wasn't the monogamous type. And it was like all of a sudden I understood the 16-year-old girl crying by her locker. And I was a pathetic mess of an individual who just wanted to do everything to please this person,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of twisting myself into knots in order to,
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't feel that until I was like 26, 25.
Did she break your heart?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Multiple times.
Yeah.
Sure.
You kept going
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, of course.
Why do people
Sure.
keep going back in relationships?
Broken.
Why do we keep going back when we're hurt and we're in love with somebody and they treat us badly? Why do we go back?
I think a couple reasons. I think number one, there's this I have a mistaken understanding that people maybe are broken and I can fix them and I can love them better and they will become whole. I think it's also a little bit more ego than
Mhm.
everybody's willing to
Mhm.
admit. We hold on to relationships when we're not done with them, even if they're broken, because we haven't figured out how to move on. And that's just ego.
Yeah, is it ego or is it also confidence? Because sometimes the person stays because they don't have the confidence that they can find. Like I think that was true for me. Like
Mm,
I'm not that lovable. Will somebody else want me? It's my fault that this is not going well.
I'm
Even
sorry. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You thought all of those
I thought
things?
all of those things.
You know all of those things aren't true now.
No, I know. Well, I still suffer from a lack of personal self confidence, but and maybe that's why I chosen. I You don't teach English, do you?
No, don't worry. We'll
Maybe
do
that's
some
why
math
I've
later.
chosen. Maybe that's why I've chosen to be single because it's just it doesn't test my confidence the same way.
Mm,
I'm saying those words out loud for the first time, thinking about it. But I
right.
think that sometimes we stay in relationships because it's easier
Sure.
because we lack the confidence to get out in the world and see if there's somebody else better for us, or we don't think we can find somebody else better.
Yeah.
So I think it's both it's ego
Yeah.
in one side. Some people just have an ego that I can fix this person and I can make it better. And I think there's lots of times it's simply because we don't believe in ourselves enough.
Can I tell you, I think ego and confidence or lack thereof are intricately tied.
Yeah, yeah,
I think when you're truly confident, you don't have much ego.
yeah, yeah.
So I think they go
Unless you're
hand in hand.
unless you're Trump.
Well, he doesn't have any comprehension of anything. He thinks Mattel is a country right now. He's going to tariff them. When I was in that first relationship, I remember not wanting, and I was 26 or whatever. I remember not wanting to end because I'm like, how do you date women? Like I kind of fell into this one. But if this relationship breaks up, what do I do? Where do I
Where do I go next? Yeah, yeah.
Again, I didn't get the email. There was no memo, nothing. Where do I go?
No handbook.
I started playing rugby. That's not even a joke.
Because
That's where all the gay women.
oh, okay.
No, I'm joking.
Are gay women better at relationships?
No, I think that for a long time being in a gay relationship, really there was a lot of they let go of a lot of expectation because you weren't working within the boundaries of relationship, right? You weren't
Mhm.
going to necessarily. I know you can, but it wasn't like you meet, you get married, you have kids,
Right.
you get right
Right.
that line. Well, all of a sudden, all of the expectation went, and you're like, oh, we don't have any expectations now. There's still all the socialization that goes into being a woman, whether you're gay or straight, and whether you want to admit it or not. But that sort of that nesting drive, and there's that running joke that the second date you get a U-Haul and you move in. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
solid stereotype for a reason. Now, I've watched many a relationship break up. I was married. I mean, these things don't necessarily last forever. And I think the most important part of a relationship is figuring out who you are. Everybody thinks it's about meeting the right person. Garbage. No, it's not. It's about figuring out exactly who your most true, authentic self is, what you need, what you want. If you can do that, it's not about the right person. You're the right person, and you're not gonna step into something necessarily wrong.
I love what that's I think there's such a huge insight into what you just said about, whether it's perception or reality about the fact that, you know, uh, gay people in relationships seem to fare better.
Mhm.
They know who they are
'Cause they're forced.
before they're forced to. They're forced to deal with themselves
Sure.
in a way that actually makes them understand who they are, what they want, and what they need to be happy.
Mhm.
Where many people in a relationship of a man and woman have not done that work,
Mhm.
and then they find out who they are afterwards, and then they go, "Oh, not
Yeah.
only do I know now who I am, I don't like who you are, and I don't want to be here anymore."
Yeah, you don't necessarily. I think most of the big things, most of the big changes we have in our life, or most of the big moments, they come from. Unfortunately, they come from trauma. They come
Hmm.
from chaos. They come from despair, sometimes sadness. And in those moments, there's pieces of you that you figure out. So the easier your life has been,
Yeah, if you're Buffy, who's gone to the Ivy League school, who's married the head of the football coach, it's and that's happiness.
there we go.
Yeah.
And so by the time you hit 45, 50 years old and you're going, what the hell just happened? Because you haven't been forced. I say to my students and to people all the time, the things that try us, the things that are hard, and I mean really hard, they're the things that give us tiny little superpowers. They're the things that make us powerful and incredible people if we embrace it and move through it in a healthy way,
Mhm.
right? If you're going to go through hell, keep going. Don't just sit there. It gets real hot.
Yeah.
Move it along, you know?
So when the relationship, and now you're in a new relationship.
New relationship.
And
Yes.
how long is it?
And 5 years. It's going to be
5
5 years in the end of May.
5 years. And
Mhm.
tell me about Anne.
Anna's fantastic. Anna, that happened very.
Is it because her name's Anna and Joanna?
That's right.
That's
how I picked her.
that was
I did a quick search on Google, and
I'll be easy to remember. Anna.
you do what you got to do.
Jojo.
Very menopause.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. All right.
So yeah, she found me on TikTok. Funnily enough, she did. She saw a video. I was about my deal breakers. One of them was when people clap when you land the plane. Like dial it down.
I hate that too.
The guy just did his job or her job. That's their job. Nobody claps when I finish teaching. She saw that video and she DMs me on Instagram and she basically says, wow, you're killing the TikTok game. I had like 5,000 followers. By the way, at that point, she had 40,000. And my love language is atta girl.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah.
That's all it took, guys. That was it.
She slid into your DM, said, way to go, girl, way to go.
That's
And
all
you
you had to say. She didn't have to compliment me.
did you know
nothing.
she was gay?
With that, yeah. I mean, I had an inkling.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, I look back at it all the time, and I should not have been dating anybody that quick out of that marriage. I was broken. I was a mess. Ask my friends. They never got off the phone. They didn't want to do one more FaceTime. But the reason why Anna worked out was because, A, she's an incredible person and all of those things. But she is the most authentic person who doesn't need nor want me to be anything except for exactly what I am. She does not need to be saved. She does not want to be saved. She doesn't want any part of the saving, which for me is my love language.
Because you don't want to.
I want to save.
Yeah, you want to say it.
Tell me what I can do.
Yeah.
What can I do to help, right? And that was, and I joke with my mom, but that's because that's how my mom loves. And a little bit of a broken boundary situation, obviously. But that's how I thought it was supposed to be. And then I met Anna. She's like, no.
But you just said that that's your love language. Your love language is to do things for other people.
Do things for other people is different than saving.
Okay, you said you
can't save somebody else.
But you said that's your love language. So you
Yeah.
want to save people.
That's true.
So-
But that's a broken love language, I think. Oh,
Yeah,
doing things
fair.
for people. Doing things for people. That's a love language. I don't remember what it's called. Like
At the
acts of service.
acts of service.
I'm a big acts of service. Yes, because I like to do things, and then possibly it's so I get an atta girl at the end. So I don't know if I'm doing that. So I get, so that's the part that I do. But the saving people. The saving people isn't rescuing somebody from a burning building. The saving people is trying to love them enough so that they can love themselves and feel empowered. And you can't do that for anybody. And the more you try to do that for somebody, the more broken
I like
you
that.
will get.
And what's Anna's love language?
Touch.
Touch.
And
And
if I was just sitting there like this, am I touchy? No. I'm British. We don't hug.
So
My grandma, if my grandma's going to hug me, she'd give me a shove. Like that's
and a cottage pie.
yeah, that's just who she is. But so I have to, it's not that I'm against it. It's just that, if we're sitting close to each other, just have a hand close by, on a leg, on a hand, whatever. It makes her feel
Fascinating,
loved.
because the biggest challenge in relationship when you have different love languages, if you ascribe to that theory of love languages, is to try and find commonality. So, and
Sure.
when you have completely opposite ones, that's hard, but you're clearly making it work.
I think the harder part is when you have different argumentation styles. There's two kinds of people in this world. You're going to stay and you're going to have the fight, or you have to walk away and gather yourself for a while and then come back to the fight. For those two types of people, I'm a stay and throw down.
Yeah.
And if you walk away, I see that as a bit of an abandonment.
Yeah.
You don't care enough.
Yeah.
You're going to leave me, whatever is going on in my head. Anna's a stay and talk kind of person. She might need a moment, but she's definitely not a leave the room. She's definitely not a leave the house. To me, that is way more, because you can figure out love language.
Yeah.
You're doing nice things for people. It's in times where you don't agree that you really have to figure out, do we do this the same way, or can we figure out how to do it?
That's fantastic advice. I feel like there's a whole, you've uncovered something that I don't think any other guest on the show has actually spoken about, which is how to understand, how to argue or debate or disagree. Maybe argue is the wrong word. How to disagree with each other and stay in the relationship, because oftentimes people disagree and they get to a point where they just say, I can't disagree anymore. There's too much drama in this relationship. There's too much challenge in this relationship. And really what they need is to find a better way through those challenges and through that drama by talking more. So talking is very important, and communicating. And if you don't follow Unlearn 16, you darn well should, because she's going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff about everything. And she is more 50% funny and 50% brilliant. And I think you can. This is a atta girl. This is my atta girl.
There it is. There it is. I got it.
Anyway, Joanna, thank you so much for joining us on the show and for imparting your wisdom. And my dad always told me that he was an educator, and he always told me that everything in life was a moment and an opportunity to learn. And he always said, doesn't matter what is going on, if it's good or bad, if there's something that's happened in your life, learn from it. And that's you. Like learning is everything. So relationships are all about learning. So we'll see you next time on Arlene Is Alone. Thanks so much, Joanna. It was wonderful having you on. And bye, everybody.
Tell me why.